Hello and good evening. I hope that you had a great 4th of July. I'm sitting here in my studio recording this for y'all. I have absolutely no air conditioning at the moment, and I pray that I have power to finish this video. I am one of the only places in the United States actually right now that is getting rain, and this has been above the average for what has been expected due to the drought that has spread across our country, as you could probably hear by the thunder. So, with that said, when it comes to 4th of July, it means many different things to a lot of people. Many people have family that have proudly served in the military, or they have fond memories of growing up here. And for most people, our country is a symbol of freedom. And many of us have our own ways of celebrating the things that are important in our lifetime. And I'm just going to share this with you. This is an honor flag. This flag was flown last year as we wound down the conflict that we had had for the defense against jihad. It was very important that we flew this last year for what it meant for the sacrifices that our young people had made for Iraq. And I know many of us felt like, because it dragged on for so long, that it was like basically our generation's version of Vietnam. And we still have people that are serving in Afghanistan, and we still have many obstacles when it comes to our global positioning and relationships around the world when it comes to terrorism. I kind of want to deviate from that just a moment, but I want to thank everyone for their service and for what this means. With that being said, I wanted to kind of explain my position on Bain Capital and what changed about what I learned about venture capitalism. There's due criticism that has been given by various presidential nominees about Bain Capital, and due criticism to Romney and his investments. I, for one, being one of his biggest critics about that, and it seems to me that there is nothing that Romney won't do in order to be president. And if that means being accountable to the Republican Party for taxation or things that he's done with his money, he has the money to pay up if he has not paid back his taxes or things of that issue. He is not the only one. In fact, I started digging through a lot of records because I got into it with some Democrats a couple weeks ago about our appropriations process and keeping the integrity and what that means to be a leader. If we elect Mitt Romney president, he is going to have to set that as an example. So I don't see this as a negative that the Republican Party has challenged him on those issues of taxation and Bain, because taxation is an issue for the Republican Party as well as the Tea Party when it comes to the specific position of Obamacare now being declared a tax. I want to get into that because the reason why Bain Capital is such a good topic to discuss is the power that it has to create jobs. Not just Bain Capital itself, but venture capitalism in general. It pulls in 21% of our country's GDP every year. So even though it is not the most largest creation of wealth, given that GDP is the ability to be able to pay off our debts by what we produce, it is actually a very significant part of the economy and something that we could actually use instead of government money to try and create jobs. I know that everybody has this kind of wishy-washy position on different types of bills that go through Congress when it comes to creating jobs. The important thing to remember with government is that government is not supposed to stand in the way of job creation unless it's something that has a significantly negative impact on the environment, or it has a significant impact on the quality of human life. Unfortunately, Obamacare is one of those things. I looked at the premium increases for the next several years for Obamacare, and I see that there is no other way that we can deal with the health care problem that we have in our country when it comes to the cost issues. And it's not Obama's way by buying out the entire insurance company market and saying that the federal government is going to be the only insurance agency and set all of the rules. The government is supposed to be in position and power to govern. It is not supposed to be in position and power to tell everybody what products it's going to buy and how much they're going to charge for it. The only way that we can go about assessing those costs and whether it's fair market value that consumers and the government are getting for their money is to go in and create a standardization process for most medical procedures. I'll get more into that at a different time. I want to hit real lightly on Fast and Furious. I am very, very proud of our House members who voted to find Holder in contempt. I assure you, it is no less than what he deserves, and he deserves, quite frankly, much more than what can be done by people that are working with him in the Department of Justice. At this time, we still have open cases related to Fast and Furious that have to do with local corruption trials. At that time, the FBI or other necessary agencies, once those become matter of public record, can then at that point pursue those charges against Eric Holder, or, as more files become available to the public, Obama. Obama, however, is seriously ramping up another order against him when it comes to impeachment. He was impeached as recognized by the House on January the 1st, which is why none of his sanctions have taken effect since January the 1st on Iran because of that. Iran is a very interesting basket of conflict. We need to be able not just to sit down at the table with Ahmadinejad, but construct a serious position on where we stand with him with his country's religious beliefs and how he feels sandwiched in between all these other countries who have various hostilities and other issues of terrorism. Obama has decided that after his impeachment was signed January the 1st, that he would not adhere to his limitations with the budget or the orders of the impeachment, and he would delay the sanctions that he was imposing on Iran while he was awaiting a Senate impeachment hearing to be called against him. It takes 2/3 of the Senate to do it, but the main issue with the Senate is that the Senate is so heavily weighted with Democrats who had supported Obamacare, even though we lost 30 million jobs, that we are going to have to either replace people in the Senate or we're going to have to cut their salaries budgetarily to get their attention. I know that we have their attention already, and I know that they're just as frustrated with Obama, but in order to not completely unravel the entire party, they are not making these statements to the public. Some of them are choosing their own ways of going about not going to their own convention or nominating Obama. That's their business, but I'm telling you, the American people are owed back to the Treasury 16 unpaid vacations if Obama has been found to be illegal, which most of us believe that he is, definitely illegally occupying the United States office of the President. Not only that, but they will be owed whatever he has misappropriated. Either that will come from budget cuts to the Democratic Party through their committees when it comes to the budget, or we will have to go about assessing tax evasion onto the Democrats. With that said, I want to go back to job creation. It is crucial that we continue to press for a stopgap measure in order to prevent Obamacare from being implemented. We have another opportunity to almost keep the government funded past September the 30th, and this will be, the 4th or 5th shutdown that the Tea Party has averted by continuing to look for cuts and work things out with each other. But according to the press, there's this constant gridlock. Yes, we don't get along sometimes. Yes, we have different positions. But the point is that what you are seeing take place is really the airing of strong opinion as opposed to the will to get the work done in Congress. Right now, what I want for Congress to do is to set aside their political aspirations for the election, even though I know that it's coming up. The primary way that we need to get this country back on track is to focus on jobs. We made a compromise with the Senate that we expect them to honor, which was to give them surface and transportation bills. Yes, they had to be scaled back. Yes, we couldn't include nice sidewalks for everyone to walk on. But we are in a $16 trillion deficit, folks. You're not going to be able to get, the wrapping on the paper. You'll be lucky enough to get the present. And that's what I'm trying to say. People are going to be wanting things like it's Christmas time just because it's the federal government, and that's not how it works. We have got to be able to fund the government as we go without running serious deficits. My main issue is that we have not been able to come up with enough cuts in order to pay Congress, and we're close. We're within $200 billion. And from there, we need to start cutting off the rest of the legislation and be cost effective to cut another $1 trillion or so over the next year. That way we'll make good on our debt payment plan, and that way investors will feel sure enough to hire again. I have already written an injunction to hire which waives Obamacare and the penalties from it. That way Obama would have to legally challenge every citizen who has a small business that was trying to hire, and then that way each person could sue him individually. Now I know that would flood the court system, and I know we're trying to cut the judiciary, but the bottom line is we should not have had to go 3 years with Obama not being brought up on a full hearing in the Senate for impeachment. I would just want to close out by saying that when it comes to job creation, we are working with Mitt Romney to do that. When he started to solidify himself in April to a more conservative stance, I became more willing to listen to what he had to say, and I did a little bit more research on his company. But what really got me was the ability that we still have within the Republican Party to work together as a team. I really like Ron Paul as a person, but what you have to remember is when you elect the next president, you're electing their policies, and that's what people forgot when they got Obama. Obama now is not the hip, cool person everybody thought he was, and people sure hate his policies. And that's what people have to remember when they elect a leader. That's what we're going to have to remember when we get everybody elected in the Senate. We've already decided different people that we wanted from different states based upon their positions. I went and looked up every single person that's running for a Senate race online, and if I missed anyone, it'll be updated to the list. But you can find it. It's on my blogs, and on there it will tell you who we find to be the most Tea Party or the most conservative out of the people that we have running for office. I can't wait until this election happens. And the reason I say that is because the more money that we take from Obama, the less ability that he has to defraud the election. And unlike John McCain, Romney has the money to take Obama to court and take him to the cleaners. And I'm telling you people, that's what it's going to have to come to in order for Obama to have some accountability. I just want to say thank you for your time. And I will be back to you again shortly when we can come up with another video where we need to address where we're going with the campaign for the rest of this year. Thank you.